Hello and welcome to this episode of CXO Cafe, a series of learning interactions with CIOs and technology leaders of large enterprises. I am Anil Chopra, VP Research and Consulting at Cybermedia Research, and your host for this episode. Our theme for this series is workplace trends for the new normal, and today we'll be discussing a very important aspect of this topic, enhancing workplace potential in the new normal. Now, the rapid outbreak of COVID-19 left the entire automotive supply chain grappling with unforeseen challenges. The major issues, some of them were OEM shutdowns, output reduction, lack of sufficient labor, and raw material shortages. When this pandemic was at its peak, a third of the suppliers reported moderate to severe impact. There was a weakening of demand due to OEM plant shutdowns, unavailability of raw material due to logistics issues. Thankfully, things are looking upward now, but then companies cannot really take things for granted. IT must therefore put a contingency plan in place to ensure that employees are able to work from anywhere and that they have the right technologies and tools to maximize workforce potential. So in this episode, as I mentioned, we'll discuss how to really enhance workforce potential in the new normal, what are some of the technologies that can be used for contingency planning and so on. And for this, we have with us Parna Ghosh, who is the Vice President and Group CIO at Uno Minda Group. Welcome to CXO Cafe, Parna.
Hello, hi Anil, how are you?
I'm good, sir. Thank you and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Now, before I start the discussion, I'll just give a quick introduction about the Uno Minda Group and yourself, Parna. Uno Minda Group is a leading tier 1 supplier of automotive components to leading OEMs globally. The global flagship company is Minda Industries Limited. Uno Minda has 62 manufacturing plants in 8 countries. The group has 17 joint ventures and associations. It has 10 R&D centers in 6 countries, and the group has more than 260 product patents and 250 design registrations. Parna leads the strategic initiatives in IT in the group, supporting mergers and acquisitions across the globe, driving digital transformation in all product lines and internal IT systems in the group. He is responsible for triggering customer OE experience through innovation and experimentation in IT. Parna drives IT projects to facilitate needs for organizational growth and future business landscape, and he drives projects that are pertinent to the top line and bottom line improvement. Welcome once again to CXO Cafe, Parna.
Thank you.
Now, Parna, the whole world, kind of witnessed the effects of the pandemic and every industry was impacted. What were some of the challenges that you faced during that time? Tell us some of the experiences that you had as an IT leader.
Thank you, Anil, for this question. A very pertinent topic, and I think we are deliberating this topic for last, many months now. I will just put my, focus into 2 aspects. One is I will, make this entire, time span into 4 phases. Phase 1 is pre-pandemic, which came in, 2020 March. Affected India at large. Then the phase 1 or the wave 1 of COVID. Then wave 2 of COVID, and then now post wave 2. I think you can just cut it into 4 phases, and then we can have a meaningful discussion on this. One is before I jump into COVID situation, we have to also understand how the automotive industry has suffered for last 3 years. When I say 3 years, it started in 2018 quarter 3. I still remember in October we got the confirmation from all the OEMs that they are reducing their volumes, whatever they planned earlier, and then the slowdown actually started, which was there for almost a year. And when we started, recovering from that, that slowdown, then immediately pandemic came into picture. I think from February, March, it started happening, and people went for, shutdowns or, work from home and something like that. Then we again had a pent up demand in the market. And as you rightly pointed out, labor shortage, raw material issues, OE fluctuations of OE, demands and stuff like that happened. But we had a good time from October 20 till I will say March 21. Very good time. In fact, one of our biggest growth happened largest growth happened in this phase for last 6 months of the financial year. Then came the phase 2 or the wave 2 of pandemic, which again crippled the entire supply chain, the OE demands, and everything went into a toss. And now recently there are two successive disruptions happening. One disruption is linked with the microprocessor shortage, which recently started in last 1 month. I don't know whether you are all aware or not. Automotive demand for microprocessor is just 3% of the total microprocessor, demand, where laptops, mobile phones have very large share of business with them. And there is only one large manufacturer in Taiwan who is grappling with many situations at this point of time. There is a, drought happening in Taiwan. There is, they have a fire also in their factories and stuff like that. So this is one disruption. Second disruption happened very recently, just last week, is the power crisis in China and India, mainly because of coal shortage. I mean, coal production, as you know, is the coal storage is also going down day by day, and obviously that is going to hit everyone very badly globally, including India. And China is now operating 3 days in a week, if you see the news in the public media and stuff like that. So what I want to say is we are continuously observing a VUCA situation: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. This VUCA used to happen earlier every 10 years, once in 10 years, once in 5 years, stuff like that. Now it is happening quarter to quarter. And that is the big change of the business scenario. So that we all have to understand, and then accordingly start discussing all the topics which we are discussing at this point of time. Now let me come back to your question, which you are talking about, the pandemic situation, how we were grappling. So what we did is, obviously, pre-pandemic, our utilization of the collaboration tools was almost zero. Nobody was using, barring few IT colleagues of us. We were doing some meetings. But as soon as pandemic happened, I think in 2 days time, all 4,000 of our employees started using the IT tools, especially the collaboration tools. And thanks to the OEMs and thanks to the service providers, we were really able to, keep up the momentum within the organization, keep the motivation of the team and people, and we were able to work for 2 days. But the biggest problem we faced is, since 40% of our manpower works in manufacturing and they use desktops, for them it was a real big challenge. And I will come back to you about those, I think in the later part of your questions. But, it was really a big challenge, a testimonial for all of us. I will say testing times. But ultimately we were able to succeed because of the support from the OEMs and support from the service providers. And the first pandemic, first wave and the second wave, both we were able to manage subsequently in a very well manner. And now what is happening is, now we are working all days in the office. That means 6 days we are actually working from office, and hence the need of the hour today is how to improve your connectivity within the office. Reason, physical meetings have actually gone away. Everything is happening digitally now. I was very surprised. In my organization, there are many people, around 260 people sit in the corporate office, but everybody is using Teams or something else, some Zoom or WebEx or something else for some collaboration. So the culture and the habit of using digital tools have actually changed the entire way of communication, which is a very, very big change. And this started obviously from the pandemic. Over to you, Anil.
Yeah, thanks, Parna. I think very interesting to know that the industry was impacted much before the pandemic due to various reasons. And as of now, also, you're saying, although we are coming out of the pandemic, there are various global phenomena that is happening, other disasters, droughts and power shortages and all that, which are also causing an impact on the industry. Pandemic, of course, had its own impact, and which you talked about what sort of impact and all that. But now I think the key thing to understand is, how do you really manage this kind of workplace disruption during this kind of a time, where although you said that you're going to office, but I'm sure that pandemic has taught everyone to kind of work remotely. So how do you really manage such a disruption where now it's part of the workforce works in office, part is at home, and in fact during sometimes earlier part of it the workforce was not able to do anything because someone in their family or they themselves were down due to COVID. I think we all face this situation. How did you manage this disruption?
Okay, so I will cover three, four bullet points here, and one obviously support from HR, very very big support from HR. We also had a COVID care center set up by our HR team, and where we were I will say hosting or admitting our employees and employees family members, and it really helped a lot. So that is the support from HR side, which was, as you rightly mentioned, that we were grappling with the situation of COVID. So that support was provided by the organization, and also if some people were getting hospitalized or needed oxygen or needed some kind of remdesivir or some other medicines, that was also supported by the organization very very widely. And I think should congratulate or thank the HR team here, who really worked very hard to make this thing happen. Now coming back to the digital part. So digital part, one thing we did is, I'll share some experience with you. I think that's very important. We have around 600 plus people working in engineering, out of which around 350, 400 odd people use workstations. I mean, that big workstations, HP or some Dell or something else. And these workstations are all stationary in the organizations. What we did is, during the first pandemic, we shipped all these workstations to their homes. This is point number one. And also at the same time, we ensured that all the ports were unlocked, because in workstations, it's very secure. You cannot, browse here and there and put some USB drives and something like that. We ensured we enabled everything, because they have to use their home Wi-Fi, or many people will use, mobile hotspot or something else. So we enabled everything. And at the same time, we also ensured that no data leakage happens from those desktops. So we also implemented a DLP solution on top of that workstation when we shipped. Second thing what we did is we enabled UIOD, so use your own device. So that means if you are having your own device at home, especially for the manufacturing teams, employees, so what we told them is, please use your own device and please click on this link. There is a software which will be downloaded in your system, which will enable security and safety both to your computer, and the data leakage part was all prevented. This was step number 2. Step number 3, what we did is we also invoked a productivity tool. I don't want to mention the name right now, but there are many in the market nowadays. So one of the productivity tools we implemented, which actually measured what time people are logging in, what kind of work they are doing, are they on track on the projects. And also we had a project management tool which is used by almost 1200, 1300 people in the organization who mainly are engaged in project management. They were using those tools for their logging in time and the deliverables on a day-to-day basis. That is one of the monitoring things we did. And second thing we did is, I told you, as the implementation of the productivity tool, which we were able to generate reports and send it to all the HODs that this is your team's performance, or their schedule or something like that. Let me also tell you at this point of time, right now data privacy bill is not passed in India, and hence this was possible. But in tomorrow's time, when the PDP bill will be passed in the parliament and it will be enacted as an act in India, this will be very difficult to do. I mean, you cannot simply monitor employees or track employees time the way we used to do or we are doing today. I mean, this is going to be a big challenge. So I think these are the few things I can just share with you we were doing. At the same time, keeping the morale high, so some trainings, motivational training, some yoga classes, and many other things were managed by the HR team. So I think which are not part of digital, but I think to keep the motivation high, there were many things organized by HR, some games, some quizzes, and many things were there which were organized across the board, and that really helped to keep the team and the morale very high, and people were motivated to work with us.
That's great to hear. I think you have really given a great insight around how manage the situation, and in fact that brings out some challenges that you must have faced. You took care of security, You took care of employee productivity so that you could actually monitor the productivity, and possibly, I don't know, maybe some workarounds will have to be done once the bill gets passed. So probably some other things will have to be done. But I think, another key thing is that that's about your employees who are actually working remotely, and you've enabled them to work, remotely. What about interactions with your customers, partners, vendors? How have those interactions changed due to the pandemic? What have been the challenges in trying to make the most of such interactions?
So, in terms of customers like us, most of the customers or the OEMs are digitally enabled, and most of them are using digital tools, and they are very large. Whether it is Maruti Suzuki or Tata Motors or Mahindra or Honda or Hero, TVS, Bajaj, everyone is too big. So they anyway have these tools, and they were able to collaborate with us as a tier one, and like others also. And this is one. But for the suppliers, I think I should share something with you. I mean, with the help of our OEM, who is providing us the collaboration platform, and it is Microsoft, because I am seeing Microsoft logo here. So let me mention the name also. They actually provided us 5,000 additional user IDs to be used free of cost for 6 months. That was a big, I will say, generosity or humility from Microsoft end, and we really appreciate and thank the entire Microsoft leadership and team. And not only us, they did this for many other customers. So this is one big thing. And what we did is we provided all the suppliers these user IDs. We used them extensively for 6 months, because the first pandemic was very, very long. We recovered, I think I still remember, in August or September. I think 6 months it was there in India. So, that was one of the things we did. Second thing, this is the collaboration part. Now, second thing what we did is, apart from the collaboration, we actually heavily invested on digitization. Now, when I say digitization, I am talking about enablement of processes, or digitalization of the processes. Many times we have to re-engineer the processes. We are doing huge investments on digital interventions in most of the functions. Finance and HR we already did, 1.5, 2 years back. But for supply chain and manufacturing, especially these two areas, and also marketing, we are completely going digital. So I'll give an example in the marketing, whether it is, the long-term planning, forecasting, budgeting, RFQ management, your price management, your, we call it development cost recovery. So it is basically, recovering your existing cost from the customers. Each and everything process is digitalized. And when I say digitalized, it means we currently have paperless marketing function in the organization. So everybody is using digital. Coming back to manufacturing, we are in the process of looking at MES at a very large scale, and also IoT. We are focusing very, very high. Many big factories now, that we have bigger and smaller factories. So obviously bigger factories we are going first to digitalize their processes through MES and also IoT. And we are looking at very aggressively in this area. So it's in the process, so we will be very soon implementing one by one in most of the large plants, and then we go to the smaller plants. Then quality management. Quality is a very big focus. So quality management also we are looking very, very aggressively in terms of digitizing the entire quality part. Supply chain, we have completely revamped the supplier portal, and currently 500 suppliers are using our supplier portal, where we have also provided them access to dashboards. Their real-time performance, their past performance, their forecast, their schedules, and everything is part of the dashboard. So that's part of supplier portal or supply chain portal, where we are also communicating many things and getting communication back from the supplier. So it's a two-way communication which is happening through this platform. In supply chain also, we are also doing cost digitization. We are doing RFQ digitization in supplier area, and materials function completely going to be disrupted in next 1 year, and we will see a big change in the materials function. Now the last piece is the collaboration and communication. Obviously, I also focused on that, but since it is Logitech who is organizing this event, so I should also mention we are, heavily, I will say, focusing upon collaboration platforms. So platform we already have, but now the tools. Say for an example, we also use Logitech in many of our. By the way, fortunately, we are using that also. We are also now combining the Microsoft Teams platform along with the existing video conference platform. So we are trying to, how to say, collaborate two platforms and make another unified platform and trying to use that. So that is the next level of collaboration we are trying to do in this area. HR and finance, I already told you, most of the processes are already digitized, and we are ahead of the curve in terms of these two areas, at least with respect to other ancillary organizations. I think that is the way we try to transform business, transform IT, and also transform people. So because people, process, technology, as you say, but here I will say, business, process, and then people. I think this is the way we, and also IT at the end of the day. So this is what we have done. By the way, we have also implemented, data loss prevention, data classification system. I told you employee productivity system earlier. Then next generation of antivirus. Now we are implementing, the next generation of security solutions. We have already gone ahead with the security operations center, which has already gone live around 8 months back. So I think lot many things happened, and the biggest advantage we are getting is management focus, management attention, and also the board approvals. Most important, board is approving all the budgets, all the projects, all the investments, and that is what is helping us to be relevant and be ahead of the curve. Thank you, Anil. Over to you.
Thanks, Parna, for elaborating on the digital journey that you are going through. So much of things have already happened. So many things have implemented. I'll be, coming specifically on the collaboration part of it. You have done so much, and around collaboration using MS Teams, using, video conferencing and all that. By now, it will be good to hear from you, after all this time as a technology leader. What would be some of your own expectations for, from technology? You've done so much of it already. So certainly you must be having certain expectations to enable, further enhancement in collaboration. You must have, discovered some things that are missing, or, something that, needs improvement. So as a technology leader, what would be your expectations, for enabling enhanced collaboration? This could be in terms of collaboration tools, or it could be any other technology. It could be processes. Would really love to hear your views on that.
So, in terms of collaboration, let me tell you, the unified collaboration is the way to go. So, although we are having unified collaboration today, because most of the devices are connected, and we have the facility of scaling up, and the most importantly, the tool providers, the OEM, especially Microsoft and others as well, they are really scaling up their tools. I mean, if you look at the way Teams have evolved, or the way Microsoft other productivity tools are evolving, I think that's really commendable, and the way things are changing very fast. I think that's really helping the organizations. So one is, you demand things, and one is it is already available and you just use it instead of demanding, or maybe trying to co-create or create something. So if things are available, it's easier to adopt and disrupt very fast. Second part of the discussion is, in terms of using digital tools on stuff like that. So we are in the process of phasing out video conference, because video conference is one thing we have seen. It's actually on premise, and also it has some collaboration platform as well. But at the same time, the investments are not yet justified because of the way we are collaborating today. Maybe video conference has already become irrelevant. So I think that is what we have decided, that we'll go away from the video conferencing solutions which we have today, and obviously use extensively these platforms of whether it is Microsoft Teams or any other platform. So I think that will be the way to go ahead. I have also seen, organizations who are doing collaboration from their own websites. I think the websites, or the the internal sites, they are also transforming. So that is also way ahead. I mean, we will look into that aspect, how we can do that, and how we can really do, conferences, webcasts, webinars, or even meetings through our own website. That can be another thing we will be looking at in future. May not be right now at this point of time, but I think now the main focus is ensuring the cyber security is in place. Data privacy, as the bill is going to come, we are also focusing upon that, how to ensure that the data is protected and prevented from getting leaked or disclosed in the public space. And thirdly, ensuring that the productivity enhances to the next level. So we are expecting certain technology interventions or tools, or I will say more collaboration, more platform collaboration, more utilization of let me give an example. Today we are using Microsoft Teams or something, Zoom or WebEx or something. There are many, Google or something. So we are using these for meetings. But tomorrow we can do collaboration with our suppliers also from this tool. I mean, nobody knows, that's an expectation. So tomorrow maybe the tool will say, okay, you don't invest in supplier portal. I will provide you a secured, channel to share drawings, designs, your, information to the suppliers. Also, maybe suppliers can collaborate back to you. Maybe blockchain will come very, very large in the space and disrupt the entire collaboration space very, very abruptly. I think that is the way ahead, I think. Second thing is artificial intelligence will definitely tell you like how to change the way we collaborate with customers, suppliers, employees, or other stakeholders or outsiders, vendors, whatever. So I think these are the few technologies which will be definitely, I think, disrupting the entire IT space. Especially I will say AI and blockchain are two tools, especially for this area of collaboration. I think will be very, very interesting to see in future how it really transforms. And I am sure that very soon you will see these whole things will look like very, very different. And you will be able to do many, many things through these collaboration platforms, which we are not able to think right now. We are just doing meetings and webinars and something like that. But this will become maybe your actual business collaboration platforms. When I say business collaboration platforms, you may be doing transactions through these things. I mean, we don't know. And tomorrow this becomes the Amazons of business. I mean, we don't know. I mean, B2B especially, I will say, I think this is going to be a big game changer, and we look forward for these innovations from all these tool providers. Over to you, Anil.
Thanks, Parna. I think great insights to hear from you on the way forward and how this thing is leading. While video is getting democratized, it's interesting to hear how it's actually getting integrated and just becoming a part of something, and with the applications and with the introduction of AI, blockchain and all that. It's very interesting to know that how we are moving from products towards platforms that enable business collaboration beyond basic video conferencing and beyond basic communication and meetings and all that. So thank you for that. Thank you for highlighting that trend for us. Last question, Parna. What are some of the best practices organizations should follow to enable, you've enabled such a great hybrid work environment. So it will be great to hear your insights around that, on some of the best practices that organizations should follow to maximize output from a flexible workforce.
See, I will say these are all, leadership driven. So my perspective is slightly different. See, we are also trying for digital transformation for last 5 years in the organization, at least after I joined here. But I think the push this time we got from the leadership or the board or the top management is actually helped us in enablement. So instead of prescribing things for the business, instead of suggesting something for the business, and I'll come to that point also. I mean, what we can do better. I think the push, if there's from the chairman, managing director, CEOs, or your your other directors or somebody, I think that really makes a lot of difference in terms of digital transformation, and that really helps in achieving better results as well, because they take the ownership and they take the responsibility of the results. Now coming back to IT. Now, most of the IT is getting transformed to digital. I mean, many people are saying, digital tools. Earlier, we used to say IT tools. Now, people are saying digital tools. That means things are being looked at differently. Now, when I say things are being looked at differently, that means you need, as an IT leader, also has to scale up yourself. You need to understand business, you need to understand profit, you need to understand margin, products, customer, marketplace. Say for an example, today we are selling ancillary products to our OEMs. Can we also sell services along with that? I'm just giving an example. Can we sell different experience to the customer? When I say customer, maybe you are actually selling to your OEMs, but end of the day, that product is getting sold to the end user or the customer who buys the vehicle. So he should feel, okay, this product I'm using, and it is really changing the way I'm using car, or I was using car 5 years back and I am using car today. I mean, the way Uber has completely Uberized the complete, the way user thinks of using taxi service. I mean, taxi service used to be some local guy and we used to call him and he used to come to my home and many paraphernalias, and we sometimes got disturbed also. I mean, he's doing this and that. Now Uber has completely changed the game, but obviously everything has a maturity or saturation level. So Uber is also, or maybe the Olas are also going for a saturation level, and that's why you see Ola is coming with electric vehicles and stuff like that. I mean, everybody needs to reinvent themselves and start thinking differently. So similarly, our IT colleagues also, our IT friends also need to think differently. How can IT really create difference in the business? And when I say this, I mean, it's not a rocket science, or it's not a recipe which I can sell you right now. It depends on business to business, industry to industry, organization to organization. I mean, you have to really make out your plan, which is or maybe you can also do some design thinking workshops, get the top 5 pain areas, list down those pain areas, talk to the service providers. There is a huge startups or also the large players in the market. You can take feedback from them, you can take the support from them, you can definitely co-create a lot of solutions for the business. I think IT needs to really transform themselves from pure play IT services to a digital service provider. So you should be a digital service provider to your business. At the same time, your focus should be how to generate interest in the top management's mind. Always give some benchmarking examples. This company has done this, that company has done this, because you have insights to the entire IT ecosystem. You know better what Logitech is doing, what Microsoft is doing, what IBM is doing, or Oracle or HP is doing, or anybody, startups are doing. So I think you can bring those insights, do design thinking workshops, train your people, also create a very small core team, if possible, combining business and IT, and then drive those initiatives. And then last but not the least, which I mentioned in the beginning, if top management focus and support is there, then nothing like it. I think things will become very, very easy for you. And also the ownership of results, very, very important thing. Ownership of results. It can be a failure, it can be a success, both if owned by the top management. I think then the IT teams can really, leapfrog themselves from the way they work, and things will become very, very different. I will say, it will look like very, very in a different way. And your business transformation, you will be I will say the leader for the business transformation through the digital platforms or the tools, and that is what I think we should look at. Thank you, Anil.
Thank you, Parna. I think, yes, you're right. IT does need to change, start thinking differently on how they can contribute to business. Very nice ideas that you have shared from, how, Uber now also needs to reinvent itself. But yes, definitely moving from a product to a services-based company and several innovative models. So definitely IT does need to think very differently to move forward. We are in a new normal. So yes.
If you allow me one more example, if you see Uber in between started this Uber Eats, So nobody
Yes.
thought that they can also provide food to your home. Then recently they have started Uber motorcycle, Uber auto. Then they have a very good service called courier service. I mean, they can pick up anything from your house and get it delivered to another person. Now these services were never available when Uber was launched. These are the new things which have started and which is really bringing, I will say, disruptions in their own ecosystem, and also helping the customers think differently about the organization and how to keep them engaged. That's at end of the day, that's the most important part, how you keep your customers engaged with you, and that's how the disruptions or the innovations will happen. Yeah, over to you. Thank you so much.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Parna, for sharing that last example on how Uber has kind of again done some amount of reinvention. We have now reached the end of the discussion. Thanks a lot for joining us today and sharing all those great insights. I think it has been a pleasure to do this interaction with you.
Thank you. Thanks to the Logitech, Microsoft, and CMR team. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. That's all we have for you today. We hope you enjoyed watching this episode of CXO Cafe and found it interesting and useful. We'll be back again soon with more interesting, interactions around various aspects of workplace trends for the new normal. So thank you and stay tuned. Goodbye.